So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're listening to this. This is Matthew Bailey alongside my partner in crime,
Ricardo Medina. Hello, hello, hello.
Right, and this is season 2, episode 4 of Beers, Beats, and Bailey.
Yeah. This week was the release of Kanye West's latest album, The Life of Pablo, I believe it's called.
Yeah, it is. And what made it even more weird and kind of funny, but it's really Kanye.
Yeah.
It's really something Kanye about him.
Right.
Is that he changed the title about a few days before the official, before the official release, which was supposed to be on Friday.
Yeah.
But then, and I'll get to that later, some little mishap took place, and then, finally we got it early this morning, as in Valentine's Day morning, which is the time that we're actually recording this, by the way.
Right, yeah. This is, for us men, it's called Valentine's Day, because there's no V in our life right now.
Oh,
yeah. For girls,
think about it, guys.
Yeah,
think about it.
For girls,
read between the lines.
Yeah, for girls who signal Valentine's A, because they have no D in their life right now. As you run a joke. Yeah, and it's the end of the world according to Ghostbusters too. If you see that joke enough time on Facebook.
No, but really, today is just a normal day
cool
for us.
Yeah, cool day for me. So this episode Matthew's going to be covering Life of Pablo,
which I actually listened to a few hours before we met up to do this recording.
So early little thing. Although there's a famous interview with Jeezy saying you can't. In the first 24 hours, no way you could review an album properly. That is when people was giving him shit about Holy Grail. No?
Oh, okay.
At the time. He was kind of pissed off about that. I remember that.
Yeah. And they actually have a few reviews of this album
already
Life of Pablo out right now. Not professional stuff, but just
early
and
stuff.
This is what we thought about.
Yeah, no, because for me, I think it's a little disingenuous to just dismiss an early review. For me, an album kind of have to be fire early for you to jump on it. Like some albums that was like that for me. It was like classic example is the first Blueprint.
Yes.
First
classic.
The first Blueprint for me, when you first hear it, it's like, wait, now this track hard one time now. It wasn't I need to listen to it and I had to think about it. No. Track, you listen to it, it's sounding good first few seconds of the track and it pull you in one time.
Yeah.
So to me that is a big factor in terms of judging, in my opinion, judging music. So it's hard pressed for me to just up and dismiss something. Dismiss a review simply because the person said, he just had less than 24 hours to listen to it. Oh,
yeah, and
that's
it
more
doesn't
enough
make
time.
sense. It's out for the world.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yes, it's out for the world to for whoever wants to consume it.
And then to different artists who just put out material. At the same time, it is also quite disingenuous to say, the album is complete shit if you don't like it immediately. You know how people like that. Oh, this album's trash and it's a waste of time, and at the age of the internet kind of poison a lot of that discussion in many ways.
Same thing with movies too. Like the moment they see a movie and they hate it, they just go online and just say they hate it.
Yeah.
But all right, unless it's like a seriously bad film or a seriously bad album, you really have to give yourself some time to really figure out why and what could have been done to fix it. What could have been done.
We have some movies that we're going to talk about that. So this time we're going to talk about a bunch of comedies as well. After not Life of Pablo. I hope that's not a comedy.
No.
Yeah. Okay. we're going to be talking about. I'm going to talk about a straight to DVD movie, straight to Blu-ray movie called Space Cup by the people at Red Letter Media. Very popular
great YouTube channel. Check it out, guys.
Right. Very funny. Yeah. Then we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about also.
Hail Caesar. Latest film from the Coen brothers, Joel and Ethan.
Yes, very, very funny movie.
Although a lot of people were kind of like divided by it because
I'm gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about what the problems of the film is, but we're gonna talk about it. Then
also the latest trailer. We have to talk about that latest trailer. The final trailer, I should say,
for Batman
v Superman.
Yes. Yeah. Talk about that. We want to talk about
Kung Fu Panda 3.
Yes.
And of course the film that I expect a lot of people actually took in Valentine's Day weekend.
Yeah.
Deadpool.
This weekend, and really hyped for this film. This is a big start for the comic book films of the year.
And it's one of the movies really strong, I would say.
Yeah. One of the movies we will not be reviewing is Zoolander 2. I hear that's complete bullshit and a waste of time.
I think it's just because like how Anchorman 2 was.
Yeah.
It just came out
but I heard much worse than what Anchorman 2. Because Anchorman 2 was still defensible as a comedy now. Like I hear this,
but because of the humor, the way how the humor,
it wasn't so bad. Exactly. In many ways, Anchorman 2 have that kind of timeless way of that timeless absurdity and everything. This one, I hear Zoolander 2. So we're not going. I didn't see it. I'm not going to see it.
Neither me.
I'm probably gonna watch this like 2 years from now on HBO or some bullshit like that and be like, oh, this exists and this was real bullshit.
Now, well, here's the thing.
I
probably might watch it when because I actually forgot about Anchorman 2 until Zoolander 2 came out and the reviews came out. I was
Right.
like, oh, right, that's kind of like how Anchorman 2 is. It came out a little too late,
Yeah,
you know?
and it had a bunch of comedies in the early 2000s that really don't deserve, like stuff like Kung Pao.
Yeah.
Don't need a part 2.
Do you want to have a sequel for it?
Yeah.
Why exactly?
Yeah.
No.
Again, I love the first films, and all of these films, the first version, like I love Zoolander 1. It was
Yeah,
a product of it.
I would safely say it's a cult classic.
Right.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a total product of its time, but it was a film that I really liked. I thought it was genuinely funny. You know, Ben
It
Stiller
was
just
dumb humor, but it was
totally
done
dumb humor,
well.
but it worked. Yeah. Anchorman 2 for me is a true comedy classic.
You mean Anchorman 1?
Sorry, yeah, Anchorman 1.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Anchorman 1.
That sort of
true
really
comedy classic.
absurd humor
Right, it
worked
totally
a lot,
worked. Yeah. Stuff like Kung Pao, I thought was brilliant for its time.
It was no. Here's the thing. It was like as a kung fu enthusiast.
Yeah.
It was ridiculously stupid, but
Yeah.
because of how they approach it, because of just this balls to the wall approach it, you know they weren't being serious about it. You
Yeah.
kind of bought into it, although
Yeah.
there was some ridiculously weird stuff in it, like, you know, the chick with the one breast and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
skills going wee wee.
It's totally
dumb,
absurd.
but
Yeah.
how they handled
Yeah,
it
it
was
was,
just
yeah.
funny, you know.
And then they made fun of a bunch of like great, like the bad dubbing lines. And,
Yes. The whole thing
you
was
know,
done poorly.
The sound not matching up, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, well, a movie that I liked at the time, again, it was perfect for me as a kid, but now I'm sure it wouldn't live up, is something like Puritan.
Oh god.
If they ever make
But
a Puritan.
nobody wants a sequel.
Exactly.
for
If they
that.
ever make a Puritan 2, that'll be like the most retarded thing ever. It's humor don't work like that, and we're gonna talk about current humor and the state of current humor versus old humor.
Speaking of which, there's actually going to be a Barbershop 3 coming out
Right.
in March. Why? I don't know. I guess Ice Cube needs to make movies.
Yeah.
Still waiting for that Friday sequel, you know.
I heard that coming too.
Chris Tucker.
I don't.
Still waiting. Still
Whatever,
waiting.
whatever.
But anyway, yeah.
All right, so just we'll start with Life of Pablo.
Yeah, The Life of Pablo.
Yeah, you can see what everybody started making a bunch of parodies already. For it, it's the way how all the text is on the album and
Yeah,
then Kanye's
yeah,
picture in the corner. So a bunch of people make the life of blah blah blah. There are a bunch of parodies online.
There was a generator for it apparently, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they could make your own.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the link to actually do something like that.
Right.
But I would have done something like that and just made it my Facebook profile
Right.
pic
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that.
So what do you think the Life of Pablo is?
All right. Well, first off, it's the 7th studio album from Kanye West.
All right. Okay.
Last one he did in 2013 was Yeezus, which divided a lot of critics and fans, myself
Right.
included.
Right. I remember the time I just appreciated that he was just decided to be experimental.
Yeah.
He have the more than enough resources and time to do this.
And he did try it before, of course, with
Right.
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy back in
Right.
2010.
Right. And so for me, yeah, it was just appreciated album. So this one, so give me a rundown of what you think about this one. A lot of people, what I heard about this one is that it's a hodgepodge of his career. Some people say that
Yeah.
it's like an amalgam of all of his music up until this point. Pretty much every track kind
Yeah,
of. Yeah,
more or less.
Right.
All right, but this a rundown. This a little, well, it's a really weird history of how this album became to be.
Yeah.
Well, first off, he started working on it a year or so back, and it was the original title was supposed to be "So Help Me God."
Right.
It was supposed to be released in late 2013. Well, it was supposed to come out late 2013, early 2014, but then it got pushed back. Then he started to collaborate with Paul McCartney.
Right.
So he brought out, that song, 45 Seconds.
Yeah.
Then he brought out a really great track, All Day. I know we were just getting little bits and pieces of, what this album could have been or could be, But we were still waiting. It's 2015. We got a really decent track which actually made it to the album called Real Friends.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that later. And at the end of that track, which he released online, there was a snippet of a song called No More Parties in LA.
Okay.
The first verse was from Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
So you only heard like probably a few lines from him, and the internet just went crazy.
Right.
And then about a month or so later, the full track for that came out, and people, internet just went ape shit. It's like, holy shit, Kanye and Kendrick on the same fucking track. Making nuts. And it was a great track, it is. And yeah, we were still waiting for it to come out, and then on New Year's Eve, we got a track called Facts, which divided critics and fans once again, because it was just him basically just bragging over this actually made it onto the album.
Right.
Well, a remix of it more or less. Just
Right.
the beat was changed, but the lyrics stayed the same.
Right.
And it's just really about him just bragging about his shoes, Yeezy,
Right.
selling more than the Jumpman, which is the new term for Nikes, more or less.
Yeah.
And it was just him bragging. It's just really dumb and ridiculous, but yeah. And yeah, we were still waiting. The album was supposed to be called Swish. You had a picture of Kim Kardashian in the cover. And then later on, we learned that he changed the title from Switch to Waves.
Right.
Waves
all
is coming up.
of this was being followed.
Yeah, and then about a week before the release, literally, guys, a week before the release of the album, he decided to change the title once again to The Life of Pablo, and we were like, the fuck?
Yeah. Right.
What? Who's Pablo? Who's
Right.
Life? What are you talking about here? We were like, all right, fine, we get the album, we still waiting. Okay. So the official debut of the album was last week Tuesday at Madison Square Garden. He had a lot of guests, a lot of people there. He had his latest fashion line, and he also showed the trailer for a game that he was doing
I heard about
called
this.
Only One.
Yeah, it's something about the mother going to heaven.
Yeah, it was really.
I heard the plot of the
weird.
game. The plot of the game is about his mother. Your mother's passed.
Past years ago.
Right, and it's something about basically her sent to heaven or something like that.
Yeah,
now,
so the trailer is kind of like with her flying to heaven, and you see like a winged horse going up to heaven and stuff.
Right.
It's sweet, but it seems that's kind of like, WTF, what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. What he is capitalizing on is, I think, you have a lot of really small independent video games coming out nowadays. People have these really small, low graphics, low res stuff, and it's just really creative. Something like, games like, something on par with games like The Witness or something like Gone Home.
Right.
Where it's real small, but or That Dragon Cancer. Where it's all about a message and material rather than some big AAA blockbuster budget, video game now.
Yeah.
So it's basically him making an indie game, and indie games are very popular right now.
Yeah.
So actually, again, I appreciate the man in that sense. He's actually pulling off his stuff, he getting stuff done.
I don't blame the man for actually trying new things.
That's interesting.
You have to do that.
That's actually quite fascinating. Yeah.
Even regardless of what I may personally think about the game, props to him for actually doing something.
I can see myself playing it and reviewing it. That might come in a future episode.
Yeah. Although when was the last time you ever heard of a rapper actually making a game? I think it was the Def Jam Vendetta from years ago. It was Shaq Fu. It was the Wu-Tang.
No, but those don't count as like a game is like hit, because from what I understand, I don't think he sit down and actually program the game or anything like that. But it's quite possible that he just all the creative effort and force went into that, what he wanted to see, what he wanted to do. Again, he's still, even though he's much older than the average millennial, he still he fits the millennial sensibilities reasonably well.
Yeah, he does,
reasonably. Anyway,
right. So the day after the album launch teaser, more or less, at Madison Square, he told everybody on Twitter that he was going to release the album on Friday, and we were all waiting for this thing to come out.
Right.
And then Friday night, he tweets and says that no, it's not going to be out on Friday because you're familiar with Chance the Rapper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, brought out a fantastic mixtape back in 2013 called Acid Rap.
Right.
Yeah, one of the biggest names in rap music right now. And he's also a father right now, so congrats to him.
Yeah.
So he was working on a particular song called, ironically enough, Waves.
Right.
And
okay.
he insisted that this song make it to the album because originally it wasn't there during the album launch.
Right.
So he was fighting about it, and Kanye was like, all right, we'll have to push it back because because Chance insisted on it. And funny enough, there was this moment where he actually released like the album cover, the same generator thing that we just mentioned about the Life of Pablo,
right?
And he just wrote "Blame Chance" and just put it out, as in blame Chance the Rapper for us not getting this album on time because he wanted this one song to be there. And I'll talk about that one song, Waves, in a few minutes, right? So we were still waiting. Kanye was saying that it was still being mixed and being mastered and whatnot. So Sunday morning, as in Valentine's Day morning, early in the morning, like after 1. So it was it was about to come out on his website, KanyeWest.com. Yeah. But unfortunately, the site crashed.
Oh wow!
So
wait, are those people waiting for it because of that? That is what caused it to crash? Because usually stuff, we have big demand stuff like that.
Yeah.
Your stuff will crash.
I don't know. Well, oh yes, I forgot to mention too, the day before, the Saturday, he brought out another track which also made it to this album called 30 Hours.
Right.
So, it was just really about just keeping people's hopes up, keeping them a little entertained until it came out, until the album finally came out. So so back to what I was saying, right? So the website crashed, but it was supposed to come out on Tidal. So you could actually stream the album on Tidal.
I remember how but people, a lot of people very, 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 very divided on Tidal. I personally hate Tidal. The idea of it's actually too cloistered.
What do you mean paying for
Yeah,
exclusive music?
Right, yeah, it's too exclusive. That's a big problem, I think. I mean, granted, I understand why it exists, but yeah, I could see Tidal completely failing, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not that I have so many artists who so care about this music. Unless you could really like control all of the big artist music, it's gonna be a problem. Anyway.
Yeah, and then again, what if you get mediocre music? It is gonna be paying to get.
That's the problem.
It's mediocre music from Rihanna, but
yeah,
you don't have to care if it's mediocre as long as it's from Rihanna, right?
That's the problem.
Yeah,
and exactly. And these artists have no guarantee that they'll stay popular even 5 years from now.
Exactly.
They're big right now,
yeah,
but that could change. And it have a lot of people who into artists and music. They look for small artists who are not going to be on Tidal. I mean, now what I heard some interesting news. Well, we can talk about this later. Slight digression. That a lot of the so-called relatively cheap ways to get exposed, that's starting to get cut down right now. A lot of shenanigans going on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and especially you see what happened with the Fine Brothers the other day. Why people get into trouble? Why they get into so much trouble the other day? Because that was a lot of shenanigans going on with internet business. And then SoundCloud, it's quite possible SoundCloud might close down. So SoundCloud is making because it's losing a lot of money. I think it lost $44 million last year or something like that. If I remember, I don't know if I read that article right, but from what I understand, it's quite possible that SoundCloud could get closed down. That is a big avenue for a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of indie underground rappers
and that's
producers.
So people,
and of course podcasts.
Right, people losing options. And that could be a whole thing. I mean, we'll get into.
But that sucks, though. But yeah,
yeah.
Right. So, and if you actually check his website, well, I don't know if he's gonna fix it by the time you actually listen to this video here, to this podcast here. Sorry. You will get this voice message that Yassine Bey, formerly known as Mos Def, put out about a few weeks ago, stating that, and I don't know if you know about this, guys, but this is the actual truth. He actually says that he is retiring from rap. He's done with it. He's done with the pain. He's done with the pressure. And this is all from the incident with him in South Africa, and then his visa. And all that stuff.
Right.
So it's just really fueled by that.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna release one more album this year, and that's it for me. So that sucks.
Yeah.
So we're losing him, and apparently we're gonna lose Lupe Fiasco because he also said that he's going to release 3 albums this year, and then that's it because he's just getting older. He's getting tired of it. The game. So yeah, the game is really that real, guys. But yeah, so to end things off, to end the preamble here. So finally, the album was available online on Tidal, and fortunately, I got the chance to listen to it. Listen to all the tracks actually before coming here. Some of them I was familiar with from the Thursday night thing,
right?
And just a few more that he added in. Some others that I thought weren't going to make it on the album, like No More Parties in LA, actually made it.
Right.
So I'm just gonna run through. Just gonna do a little track by track review of
How many tracks is up on it? Total. In its final studio album.
Originally, it was supposed to be 13 tracks.
Right.
Well, technically 12 or 13, but now it's 18 tracks total.
Okay. Wow.
All right. So the album starts off with Ultralight Beam. Features Chance the Rapper, who we mentioned before, Mary J. Blige, and The Dream, who I actually thought was done with doing R&B and doing R&B hooks.
Right.
I mean, I heard him last year on this Rick Ross mixtape. That, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Rick Ross, but I just happened to hear him on it, and he was kind of meh on it, but he's here on this album anyway.
Right.
And getting back to what you were saying about just this amalgamation of just his musical elements and just the stuff that inspired him and whatnot, just the stuff that he's done over the years.
Yeah.
It's a more gospel infused track.
Right. Yeah, that was a rather because they say how. I remember he was saying it's going to be a gospel album. I remember that was a thing at one point on Twitter.
Right. I think that was around the time when he brought out that song which he dedicated to his daughter.
Okay.
Well, his first child now. I think it was like that. So it starts off with this little girl, and she's doing like a little impression of like an African American preacher.
Right.
Like, hallelujah, strike these demons down in the name of Jesus, and that kind of stuff. And then we get some R. Kelly-esque singing from Kanye. Actually, Kanye doesn't do that much rapping at all. It's just really mostly singing. And he does the auto-tune stuff. He really loves that shit.
Right.
So, but just the way the cadences are, it really sounds like some old R. Kelly stuff now, at least to me. He's supported by some beautiful sounding choir assistants. Sounds really good. It's really holy, really church-like.
Yeah.
And Kanye himself, well, on this song, he touches on themes like, faith, salvation, redemption, and hope.
Right.
So Kanye is doing his thing, and then Mary J. Blige comes in with some really great soulful lyrics.
Right.
And then Chance comes through. He starts off singing, and then he does some really great rapping.
Right.
There was one part where he actually references. You're familiar with a song called Otis, right?
Yeah.
With Kanye West and Jay-Z.
Yeah, the parody.
Right. So there was a line where he says, I made Jesus. Right.
Yeah.
So there was a line where he says, "I made Jesus walk, so I'll never go to hell."
Yeah.
So Chance kind of flips that now. So he says, "I made Sunday Candy, I'm never going to hell. Met Kanye West, I'm never going to fail."
Right.
So Sunday Candy is a track that he did on this album that he brought out last year called Surf.
Yeah.
It's a collaboration between him and trumpeter called Donny Trumpet.
Okay.
So it's more like this sort of jazzy, breezy, colorful kind of album. It was good. Not great, but still worth checking out if you're a Chance the Rapper fan.
Right.
And then it ends with this brief speech by Kirk Franklin. I really didn't expect that coming. I was like,
wow.
okay. Kirk Franklin's on this track, right? Interesting.
They really bring the gospel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed it. I like the sort of spacey, kind of minimalistic kind of beat.
Right.
It really felt like just imagine you are in this church by yourself. Like you were the only one just there sitting down, so you hear, like when you're hearing the vocals, it feels like it's just filling the entire room. That's how it feels.
Yes.
Yeah, so, great way to start things off. And then we go to Father, Stretch My Hands Part 1,
Right.
which features Kid Cudi.
Okay.
Which honestly is an artist I started off following with his Man in the Moon, the first 2 Man in the Moon albums, but then he kind of just got weird and emo and stuff, and I just stopped giving a shit, unfortunately. So yeah, he does the hook there, he doesn't disappoint. It starts off with another soul/gospel song sample, and they add some synthesizer keys into the mix. It sounds really good. And once the drums come in, Kid Cudi does his thing, he does his chorus. And then we get some more singing from Kanye in autotune. Yay!
Right.
And then he goes into sort of a kind of half song, half rap style. He started off with, you could argue he started off with 808s and Heartbreak, that singing, rapping kind of thing. And he goes into that whole beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy / Jesus mode. And I'll say that in terms of just the way how his lyrics are. They're more hedonistic, they're more over the top and in your face.
Right.
And it's all about he tries to, like, if he's touching on sex, it really sounds really graphic, but at the same time he kind of comes off as the asshole now, more or less.
Right.
So there was this one tweet-worthy lyric where he says, "Now if I fuck this model and if she bleached her asshole and I get bleach on my t-shirt, I'm gonna feel like an asshole."
Okay.
This is how the rapping started. I was like,
yeah,
let me play that back a little bit. This
right.
Yeah, it's like. So yeah, he goes on that kind of territory, but
right.
overall the song itself is good enough. I mean, this last song is probably like about 2-3 minutes long.
Right.
And that's the next thing about the album. Like, some of these tracks are really short, some of them are fairly long, like about 4 or 5 minutes long. So after Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, we go into Part 2. So all of a sudden, after the chorus on Part 1, it just cuts to this new beat, and it's more upbeat. It's less. It's faster actually than the previous track.
Right.
It's more trap inspired. You hear those hi hats. You get a really heavy bass line, and then we get we get our first taste of a new artist on the scene on the good music family called Designer. He's a Brooklyn rapper, latest signee.
Yeah.
He does the hook, and I would say he sounds a lot like Future. So you know how Future does that kind of auto-tune, that sort of half drunk, half asleep kind of singing.
Right.
So he does that on the hook there. And Kanye, once again, he matches the beat. He sounds really, the beat is much more intense, so he tries to match the intensity, and for the most part it works. And then in Yeezus fashion, once again, when you're really enjoying the beat, it just switches to another beat just like that. And it goes into this sort of smooth kind of soul sample, and it sounds good, but then like about 10 seconds later, you're hearing some kind of robotic singing. But it was kind of weird now, but what I liked about it is that they actually went back to what they were touching on with Ultralight Beam, which is more like about, Father bless me, save me, stretch out your hands, for me, out to me. So at least it kind of went back to what the album was starting off with. So that was interesting. Although I still find it was just a bad way to end that one particular track.
Yeah.
Right? So then we go into track 4, which is Famous, which features Swiss Beats. When last you heard about Swiss Beats, and Rihanna.
Long time.
Yeah. So Rihanna starts off the track with the chorus for it, and she kind of sings from the perspective of a how should I say, like a past flame.
Okay.
Just someone that Kanye was with romantically for a while, and then things didn't work out, so they separated. And Kanye, being Kanye, of course, went on to to pursue his dreams, and now he's famous, so he could do whatever he want. He could fuck whoever he want to. He could do whatever the fuck he wants to do.
Right.
And she's just like, well, okay, glad you're famous, but at the same time, I still have feelings for you. I still love you, so yeah, feelings haven't changed, even though we're separated.
Right.
So Kanye, of course, goes into the sort of hedonistic lyrics, of course, and it's kind of like, well, this is just the perks of being famous now. I could do all these things. But then every once in a while, the chorus comes in. It's kind of like a reminder, well, yeah, I'm seeing you doing these things, but hey, still love you, okay? So cool. Just don't forget that. Swiss Beats doesn't really have much to do in it. He just does ad-libs. She's all like, like that, God damn, and yeah, and woo, and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't really give him much to do.
Yeah. And
it gets really kind of weird for him in the last minute or so of the track, where we get this fantastic sampling of, you're familiar with this song, Bam Bam? Sister Nancy, fantastic dancehall track.
Right.
What a bam, 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 and the sample is, like, they chop it up and sample it really creatively. Mm-hmm. It was a nice touch on this beat. It's kind of like, well, kind of bringing in some Caribbean flavor. Well, of course, Rihanna, of course, being from Barbados, so you added that more Caribbean flavor to it too. And it really added to the beat, because the beat itself is really upbeat, is really, head nodding and stuff. Is really fun. Interestingly enough, the actual song the actual chorus, that Rihanna sings, we hear the version of it, the real version of it from Nina Simone. Right. An artist that Kanye loves. He sampled her music in on Jesus, Blood and Leaves. Yeah. Yeah, and he does that sampling very well on that song as well too. But just a little side note as well on that track. There's this line, this controversial line that more or less said in the internet by storm again. And it goes like this. For all my Southside niggas that know me best, I feel like me and Taylor, as in Taylor Swift guys, might still have sex. Why? I made that bitch famous. Yeah. So apparently Kim Kardashian was cool with that line, Okay. She was cool with it, it's fine. It's like, alright, yeah, my husband used to fuck bitches, whatever, but he's with me now, so yeah, whatever. Yeah. But of course, Taylor was pissed by it. Right. So Kanye apparently asked Taylor Swift to post the song on her Twitter account, and she was like, no, she doesn't want to, but she warned him not to release the track because of that particular line that she felt was misogynistic. And Taylor's younger brother actually listened to the track and then posted a video of himself on social media throwing away a pair of Yeezys. Okay. So I was like, okay, well, cool. You don't like it? Fine.
Internet drama, I don't care about.
Yeah, internet drama. But it's really funny though. That line is funny. But and of course, for those who don't know, Kanye famously came on stage and stole the spotlight from Taylor Swift way back in 2009. I think.
Yeah. Although I'll say, Old Dirty Bastard had the best interrupt.
Of course. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, Old Dirty Bastard
is for the children.
Yeah. Old Dirty Bastard had the best.
Puffy was good, but Wu-Tang is the best.
Yeah. Puffy. Yeah. So sorry Kanye, but Old Dirty Bastard had the best interrupt on stage of all time. No. Yeah.
So. All right. So the next track is Feedback. Yeah. And I actually love the production on this track. Yeah. He uses this 4-key arpeggio, right. Some keyboard keys that he used there. Okay. But the way how he distorts it sounds literally like audio feedback.
Right.
Oh, so that's clever. Imagine audio feedback and you make a melody out of it. It sounds awesome.
That's actually quite clever.
Yeah. So Kanye does some he does some traditional rapping and some braggadocious lyrics over it. Right. It sounds like he sounds hungry. It sounds like he's starting off with this now. So just imagine like he was starting off in his career and this was just his moment to shine. This is going off.
This is probably through the time of what's the name of that Jeezy album? Diamond. What's the name of that Jeezy album? Right before Blueprint. Really bad one. That's kind of
Dynasty Rock Club Familiar.
Yeah.
I was the only one. I always thought I was the only one that was disappointed by it.
No, that's a terrible album.
Yeah, I mean there were a few bangers, like throw your hands up,
yeah,
do it again, that kind of stuff. But overall, it was just.
But I think that was some kind of earliest material ever.
Yeah, because he produced "This Can't Be Life."
Yeah.
That was the song that Kanye produced, and that helped put him into the spotlight more or less in terms of rising producers.
Yeah.
So anyway, right? So Kanye sounds fantastic on this track. He has some dope lines. This one I particularly liked. I can't let these people play me. Name one genius that ain't crazy.
Right. That's actually a pretty good line.
Yeah.
Quite clever.
Right. So after that we get Lowlights, which is actually an interlude. It's just primarily just a speech being given by a woman. It's just her really acknowledging just the fact that she's glad that God is in her life, and God is always blessing her and taking care of her and protecting her and whatnot. And we get some nice pianos and keyboards all through that. It's really just a nice way, just to set the mood more or less. And then after that, the next track is Highlights, which features The Dream once again, and everyone's favorite rapper that isn't Drake, Young Thug.
Yes,
everyone's favorite rapper, Young Thug, is on this track. Unfortunately, and this also is fortunate for me because I'm not the biggest Young Thug fan, personally. I hate his voice.
Young Thug.
Yeah, but
he's sending the people back.
Yeah, but he does chorus duties here, and the weird thing is that he's doing the autotune as well too, and Kanye's doing the autotune, and they're more or less singing the same thing on the chorus.
Okay.
But it's to the point that you hear more of Kanye than Young Thug, and then sometimes both of them sound the same. So it's like, wait,
you can't tell. Right.
You can't tell, and then when you realize, wait, no, Young Thug actually on this album, he kind of pops in and out. You're not really sure, you know. But the Dream is there, like I said, and he actually has more of a presence than Young Thug, and that's seen a lot, He comes in and he comes in a little bit nearing the end of the hook and at the very end of the song as well too, and he sounds decent enough.
Okay.
It has this really upbeat sort of club sound to it.
Right.
Yeah, you can imagine this just being played in being on heavy rotation in clubs and stuff. That was really cool. And he also used the piano and keyboard melodies from Lowlights and just sped the tempo a little bit more, so it sounds a little bit more bouncy, a little bit more, faster.
Okay.
There was this great line that he does. He actually starts off with this. Kanye starts off with this line. I bet me and Ray J would be friends if we didn't love the same bitch. Yeah, mad, he hit it first. Only problem is I'm rich.
Right. Okay. That's actually a really damn good line.
Yeah, of course, Ray J being Kim's ex. And
the famous sex tape. Yeah.
So yeah, Highlights was great, but like I said, Young Thug is there, but you don't really know he's there because he just pops in and out, and because he sounds similar to how Kanye sounds. So that was funny. Next track is Freestyle 4, which features Designer.
Okay.
Alright, it starts off with some really chilling cinematic violin strings over a really dark trap-inspired instrumental. And the thing is, like, I really enjoy the instrumental in this far more than the lyrics, because the lyrics were just really lackluster.
Right.
It doesn't sound like a freestyle, though. It's just like, Kanye just trying to figure out, what to say over this. So just like him just being really scattershot with the lyrics and stuff, and it just didn't sound good. It's almost as if he didn't know what to say. It was just there. He was just rapping for the sake of rapping. And then we had this unnecessary hook from Designer. Why? I mean, even if it is an actual freestyle, I doubt it.
Yeah.
Why do you need a chorus
for?
I don't know. But overall, I'm just really glad the track just runs for about 2 minutes long because it's really forgettable. Is a really weak point on the album. But at least the instrumental was pretty great. So next track is I Love Kanye.
Yeah.
Now this actually sounds like an actual freestyle. I mean, it runs for 45 seconds. It's really, and it has no beat to it. It's just Kanye just rhyming off the top.
Yeah.
It's really clever. It's really witty. And just really him rapping from the perspective of a fan, like a die-hard fan. He's just talking about, I prefer the old Kanye. What's this new Kanye?
Yeah.
So it starts off with this line.
Self-aware.
I miss the old Kanye. Straight out the gold Kanye. Chop up the soul Kanye, sit on his goals Kanye. I hate the new Kanye, the bad mood Kanye, the always rude Kanye, spaz in the news Kanye.
Right.
Yeah,
but, self-aware.
Yeah, he's self-aware. But what I like is that in true Kanye fashion, he spins it like, if I was Kanye, I'd rap about Kanye, which he actually does on this.
Yeah,
so he's being witty with it as well. So like, he's really glad that he is who he is. Yeah. But he knows that there's people that still wish for the old college dropout.
With our coming review of Deadpool, it's going to be, we're going to talk about meta humor.
Yeah, so that's a little example of meta humor. That was clever. Yeah. So now we go into track 10, which is Waves, which I call the last minute song. Literally last minute song. That was the song that just held back everything. Because, like I said, Chancey Rapper insisted that it be on the album.
Right.
And did it live up to the hype? Was it like the song that could have been there? I would say yes or no.
Right.
Production wise, it was decent. There was this sort of upbeat. It had this really choppy sort of futuristic style beat. Think of it like, I remember like on Twitter, Chance described Waves, or at least the process of getting the album done, to like Tron, the movie.
Right.
Like, imagine this is the end of Tron.
Yeah.
And like I was thinking about it, and I was
Right,
thinking this is like a hip hop version of how the end of Tron, like
Yeah,
some
no,
end credit music.
I saw that one. I saw the tweet, but people making fun of the tweet.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, you know, Trump.
Yes,
like,
yeah,
not a
because the
rapper.
beat itself has a futuristic, like a Daft Punk kind of
Yeah.
sound to it. So that works for the most part. And then Chris Brown is there. He does the hook.
Okay.
You know, he does what he does best. You know,
Yeah.
his crooning and all that, and it sounds fine.
Yeah.
And then we have this decent and really unexpected dancehall vocal sample saying, "Turn it up."
Yeah.
Like, just hearing it like
Yeah.
the first 2 minutes of the track.
Okay.
So Kanye sings through the whole track. Unfortunately, he does that autotune singing again.
Yeah. Yes.
And then
You listen to your friend. G.
yeah, and then the thing
G-
is that we get like about 45 seconds of just the instrumental playing, and then it ends. And I was just thinking, you know, this would have been a good opportunity for Chance to come in and just rhyme over this thing.
Right.
So overall, the track really felt ridiculously short. It runs for about 3 minutes, but it sounds so short because it's just,
yeah.
you know, you're hearing Chris, you're hearing Kanye, and then 45 seconds of this instrumental, and then it just ends.
Right.
You know, with all this hype and all this build up, you would have think Chance would have come in and just deliver, you know, just a verse just to kill the whole thing, you know,
Right.
and just end it off nicely. But no, he's just, I think he does some ad libs, just
Right.
kind of mixed in, so you don't really pick up. You had to listen close to really pick up on it.
Okay.
But I just felt like, you know, personally, he could have just been there and just really put in some effort, and that would have been it. So moving along, we get FML, aka Fuck My Life.
Right.
Featuring the so-called bad boy, and I use that in inverted commas, of R&B now, The Weeknd.
Okay.
Right, so we get this really dreary, depressing piano supported instrumental. Kanye gets all serious and he gets all reflexive, you know, he's talking about living his life to the limits. He's willing to die for those he loves, like, you know, his family, his wife and his 2 kids, and having the last laugh over, you know, bitches who did him wrong in the past and all that kind of stuff. So Weeknd has this I chorus. I mean, it's not great, but it's I, you know, where he's talking about not letting the haters get to him even when he fucks up his life. So the chorus goes like, you know, I wish I could go ahead and fuck my life up. Can't let them get to me. And
Yeah.
even though I always fuck my life up, only I can mention me.
Right.
Which is interesting as well too, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I'm only human, I do shit, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, who are you to you know, to try and crucify me or ostracize me? Sorry, I am who I am.
Right.
I will acknowledge my mistakes eventually. Cool. And then the song ends, and then we get this sort of weird and really unnecessary auto-tune or outro of sorts.
Yeah.
So you're hearing Kanye's and Weeknd's voices being distorted by, you know, with auto-tune.
Right.
And then we get this percussion assistant beat that sounds like, I don't know, for me it sounded like something out of some kind of weird 60s horror movie or something kind of thing. So this sounds really kind of retro, you know? At least to me it is. I personally didn't really care for that section of the song, and to me this song overall was just really underwhelming. And now we get to a track that I personally enjoyed, which is Real Friends,
Right.
featuring Ty Dolla $ign.
Okay.
It came out on January 8th. It originally came out with the snippet of No More Parties in LA, which I
Right.
mentioned before. The instrumental, which I freaking love, is hypnotic, it's moody. It's the perfect instrumental to just zone out to or just nod your head to, you know, when the drums kick in. It really sounds cold, it sounds really deep, it sounds really dark and dismal, but I love it overall. And overall on this track, he reflects on just the bad experiences he had, you know, with his family and friends.
Yeah.
You know, he's glad that he has friends and he has family that still loves him, but he really focusing on, you know, just the mistakes that happened with them before. And just the beat itself and Ty Dolla $ign's lyrics. I mean, he comes in the chorus, he delivers a few verses here and there. Sorry, a few lines here and there. But overall, if you just really don't care less about what they're saying, at least you could just zone out to the beat, because the beat is
Right.
fantastic.
Okay.
There's one particular line that was just kind of weird, where Kanye talks about paying his cousin $250,000 for a laptop that he used to fuck bitches on.
What?
Yeah, that's what he says during the end of the song. Is just like that. I'm like,
Okay.
okay.
Random.
And we get some nice female vocals in the end, and yeah, overall great track, even though with those questionable lyrics. Well done.
Yeah.
So track 13 is Wolves. This was another early release of the album. It features Frank
I
Ocean.
heard this track, yeah.
who I mentioned before.
Yeah.
He does, alright, Kanye once again does his autotune chorus, and he gets some decent female vocal support, which pops up during like the rapping section that he does after the singing. The beat itself is really minimalistic, it's really stark, it's really dreary as well too, and it works in terms of making the listener focus on his lyrics.
Right.
Well, everyone's lyrics more or less, everyone's vocals on this song, and that was great in terms of production. Frank Ocean does the outro, he sounds good on it. And with this song, Kanye more or less mixes the whole hedonistic life with Christian iconography.
Right.
So there's a moment where he talks about what if Joseph met Mary at the club. you know, Mary and Joseph, of course, being the parents of Jesus Christ and all that stuff. And that was technically supposed to be the very end of the album. I think more or less it is the end. Although I still find if that was the official end, is a kind of sucky way to do it. Yeah. A really somber, really depressing way to end it. Well, I still like the fact that he kind of went back to, you know, touching on God and religion and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But fortunately, we get a few more tracks, which I believe are bonus tracks if you think about it. So we get Silver Surfer Intermission, another interlude, which is this a phone convo between Kanye and a rapper called Max B.
Okay.
Yeah, friend of his, and he was just talking, just, you know, congratulations on the album. Waves, he called it Waves at the time. Right. So like, you know, congratulations, the album coming out, you know, good that you're still putting out music and all that stuff. Why is this interlude on this album, guys? I have no clue, but it's there, so whatever. What am I to say?
Okay.
So next track 15, we get 30 Hours, which was the song that we got the day before the official release of the album.
Yeah.
I love the breezy sort of mid-tempo beat. It's really something that you could just ride to. It's something you could just chill and relax to. It's really good. Kanye more or less reflects on his past relationship with his former girlfriend. I forgot her name, but that was the girl that he mentioned on the College Dropout album. Right. So they were dating at the time, and then, you know, things didn't work out. Right. And then, you know, Amber Rose and 808 and Heartbreak and all that kind of drama.
I forgot Amber Rose.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff, yeah. So this was
one of his first girlfriends. Big little shenanigans went on because Amber Rose made the claim of something to do with some very anal play, trying to embarrass Kanye online.
Yes. Actually, I forgot to mention that. I don't know who started. I don't know if it was Wiz that started.
Right. What happened is that Kanye was insulting Wiz. No, Wiz said something, and then Kanye went off on him, and Wiz wasn't paying attention to his Twitter, so he didn't know what the hell going on. And then Wiz just replied to him and said, "Yeah, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about something else." Right. But between all of that was going on, Amber Rose replied and insulted.
Yeah, and talking about what you used to play with my asshole.
Right, and I was like, oh, wow.
I was like, wow.
So Kanye ended up came out like a loss on that whole thing because he just kind of embarrassed himself, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, even Amber and Kim kind of try to come together.
Exactly.
They posted a picture of themselves on Twitter just to try and squash the beef.
Right, yeah. And I was like, but it had no beef because like the man, Wiz wasn't even talking about the man though. Kanye looked like an idiot. Yeah. So, yeah, anyway. That was just
in this one, he kind of mentions, 30 hours. Well, I don't know if, because I'm not American, so I don't think it takes that long for someone to go from Chicago to St. Louis.
Okay, so that's...
But he mentioned St. Louis, but I think like on Genius, which, you know, does a lot of good, they explain a lot about, you know, behind artists' lyrics. Yeah. I believe is, he's talking about his early days when he used to go to Los Angeles, where he was first starting off his career prior to College Dropout. Right? And, you know, his relationship with that girl, which more or less didn't work out. Now, I don't know if this lyric here, these lyrics that I'm going to recite here are true, but it ends off the second verse, and is where he says, I used to Western Union for you like it's no problem, because you was in college complaining about there's no job. Right. But you was sucking a nigga's dick the whole time. Well, I guess a blowjob is better than no job.
Wow.
I was like, ouch. Dude,
you know,
the same girl that you were talking about, you were promised her late father on, remember, never let you down from College Dropout. Yeah. He's like, I promise I'll take care of her, right? Yeah. Right.
That's the track.
I know you're in heaven, but I promise I'm gonna take care of your daughter. Yeah. And he said this.
Yeah, he just come and just make it real brutal later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic track.
Yeah, that was painful, but yeah. Overall, yeah, but there was a decent track. Like I say, the instrumental is really nice and breezy. Yeah. And like the second half of it, he does some sort of random flowing trick. You know, he's not really saying much. He's just flowing to the beat. And then he even calls this song like the actual bonus track on the album. He does some shout out to Yasin Bey. Yeah. He does some random ad libs here and there. And I believe Andrew 3000 of Outkast, when last I heard about him,
Yeah.
he actually comes in at the very end. He helps him out with the chorus as well too, you know, the 30 hours chorus.
Right.
And overall, I enjoyed it for what it was, just sort of easygoing, just something to just, you know, relax to.
Right.
Just that line though, that line I know is going to throw a lot of people off, you know. Really painful.
Right.
And then we get to a track that I thought wasn't going to make it on the album, No More Parties in LA, which features Kendrick.
Right.
Like I said before, when it came out, when the full song came out, the whole net went crazy. It was like Kendrick and Kanye on the same track now.
Right.
Kendrick sounds fantastic over this beat, which is produced by Madlib.
Oh.
Legendary underground
Right.
artist, famous for really taking soul samples and just different samples and really making them sound really unique and weird and quirky. He does that perfectly.
Right.
And with this, it has this kind of really soulful vibe to it, but it sounds really fantastic. The hook alone is worth checking out, is reason enough to listen to this whole song, you know.
Yeah.
No more parties in LA. Please, man, no more parties in LA. It's really infectious, really catchy.
Okay.
Kendrick goes all braggadocious and he sounds great in it as well too, but it's really Kanye that steals the whole show, because while Kendrick is being all bragging about, you know, him being rich and he could get whatever girl he wants, Kanye is being personal, so he's just talking about, you know, the ups and downs of just being a celebrity and just the fast life and all that.
Right.
Flow wise, he is freaking impressive all through, you know. Even when you think he's kind of faltering, he just maintains that flow. He sounds fantastic.
Okay.
And this is actually the first time on the album when you hear he mentions the name Pablo.
Right.
So he says, I feel like Pablo when I'm working on my shoes. I feel like Pablo when I see me on the news. I feel like Pablo when I'm working on my house. Telling parties in here, we don't need to go out.
Okay.
Still don't know who this Pablo is, but
Right, yeah, don't know
okay,
where
whatever.
the reference point is.
And then he ends the song on this really
There's some
hilarious.
person called Paul in Spanish.
Yeah,
Whatever.
and then he ends the song on this hilarious note where he goes back. He mentions his same cousin from Real Friends,
Right.
where he says, and as far as real friends, tell all of my cousins I love him, even the one who stole the laptop, you dirty motherfucker.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay. But overall, the song is fantastic. It sounded good when it first came out. Sounds great here now. Definitely one of the standout tracks in this album.
Right.
And we're almost done, guys. Just a couple more. So we get Facts, which was
Okay.
it's a remix, the
Right.
Charlie Heat version.
Right.
Charlie Heat being a producer that's on Good Music. And it's the same song that he brought out on New Year's Eve. The same track where he's talking about, you know, Yeezy shoes are selling more than Nikes. So he's using the Jumpman cadence, the
Right.
chorus. Jumpman being the song that
Yeah.
Future and Drake did on their
Yeah.
collaborative album. You know, with that hook, Jumpman, woo! So he just copies that same flow.
Yeah.
I know he's saying that, you know, he's jumping over Jumpman more or less.
Okay.
And here he sounds obnoxious as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's just bragging about Yeezy selling more. And then he also made this controversial statement here that, you know, Nike works their employees like a slave.
Right,
and I remember that Michael Jordan's son was pissed off by that line and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he just mentions everything from, you know, his shoe line to Jimmy Fallon to the fact that Kim have a new emoji
Right,
app,
yeah,
and
right.
it made $1 million in a day, and
Yeah.
it made $1 million in a day, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so
and
he
then he
does-
mentions about Bill Cosby, and you know, he just going
Right,
off,
yeah,
going
right.
off,
He
going
said-
off,
yeah,
and
he
a
said-
lot of people hated
Yeah.
just hated the fact that he was just going off for no reason, you know.
Okay, yeah, he made a controversial statement. Well, Bill Cosby innocent or something along those lines.
Yeah, he was just going off, bragging, you know, I'm better than you, I'm richer than you, all that shit, you know.
Right,
But
usual, yeah.
overall, like I said, not one of my favorite tracks. He's just really way too obnoxious.
Right.
And yeah. And the final track is Fade, which features Post Malone, which is a new rapper on the scene, Ty Dolla $ign.
Okay.
And once again, Kanye does his singing.
Right.
Doesn't do that much rapping. Post Malone and Ty Dolla $ign just assist him. They do like these bragging raps as well too. Fortunately for me now, the song doesn't last so long. It's probably like about 3 minutes or so. And I didn't really pick up much from it, which is why I can't really say that much. It was just kind of like just
Yeah.
came and went.
Yeah.
And that more or less is how the album ends. So in closing, because I spoke a lot about this album, there's just a lot to say about it. I would say, as a Kanye fan, just being real here, this is one of his weaker albums.
Yeah.
I would say it's an album that I would go back to. It's something that I really need to revisit and really need to pick up on some things, just maybe the themes and stuff that I missed out. Right. Although I personally felt that, you know, he lost the point of the album from, you know, track 4. going down.
Yeah.
You know, if it was just supposed to be about redemption and just him trying to be redeemed and whatnot,
Yeah, that was,
this kind of
but I think I remember hearing people saying how it was going to, he saying it was supposed to be a gospel album or something along those lines. So I was like, okay, he changed it up. Whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame the guy for going into familiar territory, you know, talking about cars, clothes, bitches, you know, bragging on stuff. I mean, it's Kanye, expect that.
Right.
But what I kind of expected and what I kind of got here was just, this is how he is now. You know, he's well established. He's doing a lot of things now. But, you know, he's still trying to be relevant. He's still trying to stay relevant.
Right.
But, you know, the past kind of catches up to him. He's still trying to be a righteous individual, but at the same time, you know, he has to deal with this lifestyle of being a rapper and all that, you know, all that confliction, all that conflicts and all that stuff, you know.
Okay.
Stuff that he touched on, you know, on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy here. But at least with that, at least we got a little bit more focus. Here it was more like, you know, these were just songs I just did them, I just collaborated with people, and these are just these songs, and here they are. So it felt a little bit more mixtape-like than actual album-like. So overall, I wasn't that blown away by The Life of Pablo. I still have no clue what The Life of Pablo really means. If anybody could answer that question, you know, please let me know. You know, leave a comment or two. Let me know. But other than that, though, I will say it is one of Kanye's weaker albums. I won't say it's one of his worst, though. It's actually more bearable to sit through than Jesus. I would say, though, it really lacked cohesion. I think that was the main problem. Even with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, for better or for worse, had cohesion. They had a team really running through, which was just, you know, this individual Kanye wrestling with his, you know, duality, you know, trying to be this righteous person as opposed to being this hedonistic celebrity. And we got a lot of moments of that more or less on this album here. But I just figured that, you know, with the way how the album started in terms of, you know, God and religion and just trying to be holy and righteous, I thought he would have continued on with that through the album, or at least try to tie it back to what he said in the beginning. But I didn't hate the album, though. I would say that much. It was pretty good in terms of in terms of just listening to it. There were some songs that I liked. There were a few that I didn't like. I didn't really care for. But overall, it was a fairly decent project from Kanye. Like I said, not his best. Is definitely one of his weaker albums, but I will say it's not one of his worst by a long shot. I do see myself coming back to this album again to try and pick up on certain themes or certain lyrics or certain things that I missed from this first listen, because I'm just judging this off of my first listen, guys. So maybe a few more listens might make me appreciate it a little bit more. But for now, it is what it is. It's Kanye West. It's The Life of Pablo. Take it or leave it. It's finally out. So, you know, if you are a fan, if you are a true fan, I say check it out. You may or may not like it. It all depends on your tolerance of Kanye. You know, if you're looking for the old Kanye, you're not going to get here. If you could accept and kind of understand the new Kanye, then I guess you'll have more to really appreciate with this one. So for me, I give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would say it is worth listening to. It's out, so check it out. And if you have checked it out, guys, let me know what you think about it. Did you like the album? Did you hate the album? What were your favorite tracks? What were your least favorite tracks? Do you know what the title means? If you do, please let me know, because I have no freaking clue. And yeah, that's pretty much about it.